Welcome to Animal Kingdom, your weekly update on the real world of the animal.
Let's jump right into our first story from the Amazon rainforest. In the heart of the Amazon rainforest, scientists have uncovered the new species of frog unlike any other. It's fiery orange and red skin not only spend hours, also one breath daughter of its toxicity. However, despite this natural defense, the species faces great danger. Its habitat is disappearing rapidly due to illegal logging and deforestation. Environmental groups are urging governments to step in and create protective drone crystal quick actions. The tiny creature could vanish before most people even knows.
Were given a multi-step puzzle where they had to use a stick to retrieve a stone and then use a stone to trigger a food relay mechanism. Guess what? They succeed. This proved not only memory and tool usage, but also the ability to think several steps ahead. Crows are now being compared to primates in terms of problem-solving ability. A touching story from Kenya involving herd worldwide. A herd of 11 wolf females returning to the site when their own father away a year ago. The 11 stood silently for several minutes, gently touching the ground with their trunk. This behavior supports what many scientists believe. 11 experiencing grief, the strong social bond makes them one of the most emotional, intelligent animal on earth. This behavior
From the jungle to the streets, animal story continue to set the way we think and act. But what we do, people believe we should do to protect the creature around us, especially endangered species.
Let's go live to field where our reporters are asking people how we can make a real difference. Following the topic of endangered species that we just heard about, we are now asking people about this. So, on how we can protect this creature and this habitat.
Do you think zoos play a role in preserving endangered animals, or should they be better to protect wildlife?
Rules can be important if they focus on innovation and education, but there are concerns about animal treatment. We need more ethical standards.
It's interesting to hear that point of view especially after hearing about the new discovery regarding animals like the frogs in the Amazon. But do you think that government action is enough to protect this species?
Not really financial needed, but we also need public awareness, campaign to get people involved in protecting nature.
Increasing public awareness and government action okay, but can reform and do really happen protect animals or is a complete shift in how we view animal captivity near?
That's a great segue into our planet discussion, where we will explore the ethics of zoos, the importance of the animal competition, and the roles of the public awareness in protecting the endangered species.
Now, let's dive deeper into the debate. Should be banned or reformed to focus on conservation? Let's hear from our expert.
As we just heard from the public, there were giant views on the roles of zoos in the animal competition. Now let's turn to the planets from the perspective on the users.
You have always sparked debates, especially when it comes to the treatment of the animal and their role.
in the conversation effort. Let's start with New Queen. What do you think about ethic of the zoo?
Thanking when we start a barrow, we see food recognize those who are the same. Some who are dedicated to one right controversy, rising over program and education law expert. However, there are also who rat provide a style extradition law in a small welfare related rule in my opinion. I shall on the ability to contribute to conservation and research rural forest on conservation provide the separate for food species but the best expert ensure that the animal will be in a capsule manner.
I agree with New Queen, but I also want to address the issue of captivity. Even in the best of zoo, captivity can be stressful for animals. For example, wild animals are naturally territorial and social, but in zoos, they are often isolated or confined to small space. While it's true that some zoos focus on conservation, I believe we need to consider whether keeping animals in captivity is ethical, regardless of the educational and conservation benefit.
That's an interesting point behind the question of captivity in that's crucial. However, I believe we must also look at the bigger picture. The fact that many species are facing extinction, and those can play a significant role in preventing deaths. For instance, some zoos have had success with breeding programs for species that are critically endangered. The program can help increase the population of that species and eventually release them back into the wild where they belong.
There was some bullet point. However, we can't ignore the concern about the treatment of animals in captivity. New Queen, do you think there's a middle ground where we can protect endangered species without keeping them in zoo?
Rather, when question of an arrival in answer like in conservation expert, I want to witness so plastic is for much or have plastic and stick at reaching in a one is one and another try in the macho is known. But we must either more student or safety instead of and species.
Thank you all for your thoughtful perspective. Let's take this discussion further in the next segment. Subscribe of our journal through the Animal Kingdom today. Thank you for joining us. See you next time on the Animal Kingdom.